Hello, this is Daniel again. What I wanted to do today was show you a thing I made in Drambo. If you don't know Drambo, it's a kind of modular playground, music playground. You can build synths and samplers and effects and all kinds of cool stuff. It's not modular like Eurorack or like a Moog, but it's got a lot of little parts that you can put together to make fantastic things. And I've made a very simple thing. I'm not a Drambo expert by any means. I'm really a beginner, but I wanted to do something, and so I did it. What I've made is like my kind of iOS interpretation of Heimbach and Audio Things noises. Is not exactly a copy, but it does what I like to use noises for on my computer, but on the iPad. And I thought it might be interesting for people who maybe want to try it and don't have a computer. Now, this is a basically it plays six quote unquote tape loops at the same time and allows you to fade in between them and all that kind of stuff. Now, it's called Meander loops. The name comes from A-level geography. Meander loop is in a river. It's when the river takes sediment from the outside of a loop and deposits it on the inside of the next loop. And by doing this, it creates a more and more exaggerated loop. And that's where and then finally it makes an island. But that's enough A-level geography. And God, it's like 30 years since I did that, so I'm super happy I remember that. But okay, so anyway, what we have, just talk you through this super quickly. So we have on the main rack we have the volume for track 1 or rack 1, and the volume for rack 2, and the master volume. Rack 1, we have 3 tapes. I don't know why I chose 3. I don't know why I thought 6 was a good number, but I don't know. 6 is a good number. So we have 1, 2, 3 samplers. We have 3 LFOs linked to each sampler, to the volume of each sampler in the mixer part here. And then we have an analog filter, or virtual analog filter. Then we have track 2, rack 2, which is exactly the same. And then we have this master rack, which is some effects. So standard reverb from Drambo, pre-made reverb from Drambo. And then this absolutely awesome thing made by Child of the Corn Dog, which is a tape simulator, and is fantastic. I've simplified it a little bit, just so that to the things that are important for me. But you'll see it in action, and I'll show you everything. I'll give a demonstration. So let's start at the beginning. So let's load up a sample. Now, in the sampler, before I load up a sample, you've got this thing called trigger button. This trigger button. You've got this trigger button called trigger button. So trigger button is a way of hot swapping samples while the track is playing without the need of stopping and starting the transport, which stops and starts all the other samples. So in this way, you can load in different samples and keep going forever. You know, you could do a whole live set, for example, just loading in loops constantly, for as long as you like, or for as long as you get tired. Right? So one problem I had with the samplers. Oh, sorry, the trigger button was made by Bang Zero, I have to say, and he's absolutely awesome. He gave me some advice on the Drambo forum, and it's super, super, super helpful. So thank you very much, Bang Zero, and thank you very much, Child of the Corn Dog, and thank you very much, Beep Street, and thank you to all you. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so, and thank you to Heimbach and Audio Thing, of course. Okay, enough thanks. So let's load up a sample. So I made four noises. I made a pack using Shum, which is absolutely an awesome synthesizer, especially for making drones and stuff. So I made some samples. I made some loops already. I made them in Koala Sampler, and then exported them. There's 8, because that's what Noises takes, 8. But you know, we don't have to use them all. So we'll load up the first sample. Here it is in Flexi Sampler 1. You can see the waveform. First things first, I'll switch it to loop, and then I'll trigger it. So by pushing trigger, the sample starts playing, and that will loop forever. So if I scroll over to the mixer section here, I can fade it in. So I hope you can still hear me while all this is playing. I'll put my other headphone in. 1 second, sorry. I should have really prepared. Okay, so we have this loop playing. That's the first loop. And then you just keep going and load in the various loops. So the next, I'll load in the next one from the same pack so that I don't bite anyone's style. Well, not bite anyone's style, but bite anyone's sounds. So next is this one. And now it starts playing, I think because of the trigger, right? I think now that the trigger is launched, every sample I don't know what's happening. Okay, never mind. Never mind for now. What happens here is it's in one shot, so we'll stick it to loop and it will keep looping. Of course, I'll show you. Right, so let me bring that one in. And now you can hear two loops playing. With the Flexi Sampler, which is something, you know, because I was thinking, why do I want to do this? Why can't I just do it in Koala? Because I do also do it in Koala. I think the difference is for this is the ease of fading the various different samples. It's a bit more complicated in, not much, but it's a bit more complicated in Koala. Also, what you can do with these samplers is, in Flexi Sampler, you can do some different kinds of looping, namely ping pong loop, where it plays forwards once, and then plays backwards, and then plays forwards, which could be interesting, right? Could be awful, could be interesting. So you can also mess with the speed as well, and the pitch, which you can do on Koala Sampler as well. So it's playing to, oh god, and then let's load in the third one. So I'm hoping that the third one is something a bit rhythmic. Let's have a listen. Oh yes, good. So, and here's the set it to loop, of course, and maybe put the speed down. Okay, and now you'll hear you won't hear anything because look, I've set it to loop and it's not playing. Prime example, right, there you go. So this is where the trigger comes in. You load something in, trigger it, and it will play. Why isn't it playing? What have I done wrong? I'm such a twat. So, there we go. It's the speed. If you've got the speed on 0, it won't play. Okay, so, oh, Daniel. So, now, you can hear this kind of rhythmic whatnot going on as well. Now, I'm going to try and keep these not too loud, right? I don't know. Now, I hope you can hear me. If not, I'm going to have to re-record it all over again. Okay, but now you have this rhythmic thing, and of course you can change the speed and whatever. What you can also do, which is what I wanted to make here, is you can set some LFOs. So I'll put this on square, and we'll make it so that it goes completely silent and then full volume. And this LFO obviously controls the rate of the LFO, and then here this creates how much that it affects the So you can mess around with this, and you can mess around with all the different LFOs, and it will, fade or not fade, cut even the sound in and out. Next we have the filter. It's the standard virtual analog filter from the Drambo standard modules, and it's also can be affected by an LFO, and the LFO is linked to the cutoff. So you can make different filter effects. With that, dramatic or subtle. Okay, so each of the racks are exactly the same, or they're supposed to be exactly the same. I don't know if they are, but they're supposed to be. And yeah, so you can load in what you like. I'll stick with 3 for now, but because the process is exactly the same. Then, just to show you Child of the Corn Dogs tape effects, you have a tape warble. It's number 1, which simulates the wow and the flutter of a tape that's not completely taut. A loose tape or whatever, an old tape that's been stretched a bit, and you have different variations according to your taste. Let's make it very warbly. Okay. Then we have this dirt section, which can add a bit of kind of distortion, I guess, saturation, dirt, to the sound. And then you have the fried section, which makes it sound like a really old tape that's, I don't know, been left near a magnet or in the sun. And then finally you have this pitch, which you can, it's like a kind of, I think it's like a kind of delay, where you can have a delay at the same pitch, at half pitch, quarter, or double. And this can add some like richness to your mix as well. And that's it. Let me stop it for a second. Okay, so what this is, so that's the point of this. What you can use it for, obviously, are drones. You can use it for kind of ambient, going to sleep music. You can do experimental things with it and sample it, obviously, make samples. And you can put different noises in as well. Like, so you could put like field recordings or static or different types of noise, and create a kind of lo-fi bed for another track, for another song, and that's about it, really. I've got it on patch storage. I'll put the link in the description, and yeah, it's a bit Sunday today. Sorry about that, but I just wanted to show this, and I hope it's useful for somebody. And yeah, if you do make something with it, I'd love to hear it. But this is just simply another way that I've kind of put together. I'm not going to say made, because made is a bit like grandiose, but it's something I've put together just simply to make loops. And I've made one which I posted already on YouTube, and I think I'm going to make some more using this method. So if you're interested, keep an eye on my YouTube, because I'll do a few more. That's totally it. Thank you very much for listening. Have a happy Sunday, or Monday, or Tuesday, or Wednesday. If it's Thursday or Friday, no. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm off to make some pasta. Thank you very much for listening. Bye-bye.